Hello and welcome to another edition of the all-new Rock Sound podcast. I am your host, James Wilson-Taylor, and we have a very special episode lined up for you this week. As the Vans Warped Tour wraps up its final ever cross-country run, we have conducted a series of interviews with the legends of Warped Tour. 3 very, very interesting conversations coming up this week, all about their time on Warped Tour. Later on, you'll be able to hear a chat with Chris Motionless of Motionless In White. Played the tour like 9 times over the years. We'll be chatting as well to Mike Shinoda. He talks exclusively about Linkin Park's epic surprise set on Warped Tour that happened a few years back. Really, really memorable moment, that. But first, we're going to be chatting to Ben Barlow from Neck Deep. Neck Deep have been playing it a great deal in recent years, become a real mainstay of the tour. Obviously, one of the few British acts in recent years who's really, really broken through and kind of led that British invasion of Warped Tour. We talk about some of his favorite memories, some of the friends he's made on the road, and the impact that Vans Warped Tour has had on his career as a whole. So, without any further ado, let's kick things off, shall we, by talking to Mr. Ben Barlow. Ben Barlow joins me now. How are you, Ben?
Hey, how's it going, man? Yeah, good. All good.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Let's start with earliest memories. I guess it's a little bit different for you because, of course, you're British, raised in the UK. How aware were you of Warped Tour as a general concept growing up?
Well, I think me, along with probably a lot of British people my age who are into this kind of world, probably from the Blink song, probably from the Rock Show. You know, that lyric, couldn't wait for the summer at the Warped Tour. You know, and I was probably 8 years old or something like that when that came out. And I was like, ooh, Warped Tour. I mean, it rings a bell, but ooh, Blink said it, so it must be cool. And then, you know, you think it's all just, you know, this must be this new thing. But then once you kind of get further and further into your musical journey as a kid or as a teenager or whatever, you start to see it pop up more and more, and you realize, like, oh, it wasn't just Blink, it was, you know, it was Newfound Glory too. It was Green Day. It was Eminem. It was Pennywise. It was NoFX. It was Bad Religion. It was all of these bands. It wasn't just you know the bands that I liked, but it goes back to even the bands that my 30-odd-year-old brother likes. You know? So yeah, it became something that I was very aware of quite soon after that.
Amazing. And as you guys kind of got more and more successful and it was kind of building the buzz around you guys, did it become like an ambition almost? Did you have it on a list of, oh yeah, that's one we'd love to tick off that day?
Yeah, for sure. It was definitely something that we had always wanted to do. Whether we thought that we would ever do it was something different. You know, we didn't have our sights particularly set on it until, I don't know, things started working out with the band. And then once we realized that it was a reality, it became kind of everything. It kind of became the Holy Grail at that point. It was, you know, something that we thought would do big things for us, and even just to say, like, yeah, we played Warped Tour, which, you know, we weren't the first British band to play by any stretch of the imagination, but maybe of this little, you know, as well, for a UK pop punk band, I think that's why a lot of people thought we were something anyway. But it seemed to build very, very well for us, and it was almost the perfect thing for us to have done at that time. So yeah, once we realized it was reality, it was like, yeah, we tried to do everything we could to get on the radar, I guess. Yeah, of course. It's interesting you say that about being a UK band, because we were chatting with Josh from You Me at 6 the other day, and obviously he played it, you know, a fair few years before you guys, but he was saying at that time, you know, you were lucky to be a British band on there because it was like maybe one British band, maybe one Australian band, and then it really was still an American-centric thing. I feel like you guys, ever since you started playing in particular, it's kind of opened the floodgates a bit. Is that something you noticed as you kept playing? Like more and more Brit acts suddenly, it was a British invasion, I guess. Is that kind of true to fact, you think? Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I don't want to say that. I don't want to take credit for anything at all. You know, every British band that's been on the festival has been in there, right? But I think, you know, people have said about us for a while. You know, we were the one of the first big British pop punk bands, you know. So I think once maybe Kevin and Warped Tour saw what success, you know, we had kind of bought and what, you know, how we were doing and the kind of the pull that we brought to the festival in our own right, you know, then why not try other British acts, you know? And since then there's been, a ton of different British acts. And looking, you know, that when we did Warped Tour, that we had some fellow Brits to steal tea off and talk football with. So yeah, it's great. And I think, that only proves Warped Tour's global scope. It's not just the American bands. It's this American thing. It really started to become this very international thing, for a long time as well. You had on the times that we've done it, there's been bands like Crossface and stuff like that. So it does go beyond just British bands and just American bands, sorry. And it has become this global thing where it's bringing bands from all over the world to come and do this legendary festival and to have this, this legendary experience.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's great. I definitely did notice a lot more Brits though over the last couple of years, but that's nothing but good things. So.
Oh, definitely. Amazing to see. Really, really proud of that one. Take me back then to that first year. Let's start with your first initial memories. What was that first day like? When you think back to that day, what is it that comes to mind?
Well, our first ever day on Warped Tour was a bit of a mad one. Houston was the first ever Warped Tour that we played, and oh god, it was our second time in America. I think our second ever US tour, and so we flew in and we got to Houston and they lost all of our bags, and we were like,
no.
Yeah, we were like, oh god, like, here we go, here's a good start to Warped Tour, 2-month tour or whatever, and no clothes whatsoever, and nothing really, just basically the little carry-on bags that we had. And we kind of had to rush through all that. We had to kind of get all that sorted, leave the airport without our bags, and just rush straight to Warped Tour. So already we were like flustered and, kind of stressed out. But we got there and immediately everyone's kind of shone through. Everyone was giving us, different bands were giving us T-shirts, and different clothing companies were saying, like, if you've got no clothes, all of this, have it, take it, you need it. And so that was obviously, a great thing, immediately experiencing that kind of community spirit when you're there. And, but we just had to, run to stage and get playing, and it was nuts. But, again, it was a great show. And, that real community spirit was felt almost immediately kind of, I knew then that we were going to have a good time and that, things were going to be good and that, despite losing our bags, that we were in for a really good summer. We got our bags back in the end, and it was all fine. But that first day was wild. And again, that first experience, that first summer that we were on it, or those first, couple of weeks, we definitely felt like the new kids. We definitely felt like, the freshmen of the tour, and, everything was still new to us, and we were probably kind of geeking out a little bit. And, we were definitely like the nerdy new kids, I felt like, to an extent. But at the same time, we were doing really well, so I think there was a little bit of buzz about us as well. But and then, we didn't have this kind of, not reputation, but we didn't have, the recognition that we've got now. So there was a lot of eyes on us, people kind of checking us out, feeling us out, and it's kind of just running around like a bunch of kids.
That's a good way to spend a summer, man. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you want to be living the dream like that. Who were your kind of buddies on the first tour as well? Because I guess what a lot of people we've been speaking to have been saying, which is really nice, you alluded to it before, because it's always such a diverse lineup, you kind of end up hanging out with people that you never would tour with normally. Like, you never would normally end up on a bill with a lot of these bands, but suddenly you're on Warped Tour, so it's amazing to kind of spend the whole summer with them. Who were you hanging with on that first year?
Yeah, I remember playing football with Parkway Drive one year, and they're a band that I kind of looked up to when I was younger because I'd watched their tour docos and think I want to be in a band like this. This is what being in a band's all about. And then just casually playing football with them one year was great. It really is. Once you get backstage, once you get off stage, and you're not playing and you haven't got anything to do, it's really it's just you're in a parking lot full of people who feel and think pretty much the same as you, whether you play metal, whether you play some sort of electronic music, whether you're, in a pop punk band, whatever. Everyone's all there for the same reasons. Everyone's a musician. Everyone loves music.
Now that it's the final run, so looking back with everyone, this is a big question for you guys, but I feel like it's got to be asked. How do you think it has overall been an impact on your career? If you could sum up, I mean, it's meant so much to Neck Deep. How can you kind of sum it up? What impact do you think Warped Tour specifically has had on you guys in your career?
Huge impact, absolutely. yeah, I think really it's just given us, it kind of gave us this scope beyond just being this, this British pop punk band, and kind of established us as, it really solidified our kind of draw in America, because, everyone was kind of aware of it before Warped Tour, but it might have been this thing of like, oh, well, it was a headline tour, it was whatever, but then we went and played Warped Tour, and it just solidified that for us. So it really, and it's allowed us to make so many connections with so many people on a friendship level, on a behind the scenes kind of level, and it's taught me so much about, just what being in a band is about, and getting to meet all these different people who, have all these outlooks on life, and have their own stories about, how their careers have been and what Warped Tour has been to them. And yeah, it does. It completely just solidifies and legitimizes everything about being in a band for you. It takes your band to that next level, but it also opens up so many doors for you. And, the bands that you end up making friends with and hanging out with on Warped Tour are often the bands that you're going to end up touring with for the next few years. So the friendships that I made through it was, still, I would honestly consider some of the people that I've met on Warped Tour as some of my closest friends. And yeah, it did unreal things for us. And I think, again, it validated us. It really did. I think, everyone came out to Warped Tour and saw us doing our thing, and it made people realize. I think that was when people first started realizing, like, maybe, I don't want to admit it, but maybe there's something going on here. So for that, I could never thank Warped Tour enough, really. And plus, just for the good times and the friendships that I made through it.
Amazing. It's been an amazing run you guys have had there. What is the favorite set you have ever watched by another band on Warped Tour, if you had to pick?
Favorite set I ever watched? I remember seeing Linkin Park one day, and I think that might be my favorite only because that was the only time I ever saw them. So that was great. And we clashed with them slightly, so that was extra fun. But it's between Linkin Park. There was I saw Less Than Jake a few times, and they were awesome. I think when I saw them, it was that. On that tour anyway, it was 365 days worth of Warped Tour they played over their career.
Wow.
And I think I watched them. So you think we're veterans. They're like veteran. They're all veterans. So I think their 365th day of Warped Tour show was awesome. And I think it was in St. Pete, which is local to them, maybe even where they're from. I know that they're definitely a Florida band. That was awesome. Honestly, Les and Jake were great that day. That was a memorable one. Honestly, some transit shows I would go and watch, and I'd love, even though they were such an underrated band, and I still think they're such an underrated band, that I would go and see them, and some of the passion involved. They weren't like the biggest crowds of the day, but some of the passion involved, it was insane. Some Beartooth shows that I've seen were absolutely huge. Same with Paris. There was a few Paris shows that we saw that were just silly big, and State Champs too. I really couldn't put it down, but I think I'd have to say I'd maybe have to say Linkin Park, just because that was the only time I've ever seen them. And it was at Warped Tour, and it was just this mad experience of like, wow, I'm seeing Linkin Park at Warped Tour right now. This is kind of a bit of a surreal moment. So,
I think one of the most iconic moments in Warped Tour history, that performance, was it? Because it was all the guest vocalists, of course, as well.
Yeah, all the tons of guest vocalists. Yeah, it was kind of mad. I wasn't. I'm not mad at all. It was amazing. Seeing that, and seeing all the various people from Warped Tour coming up and doing their part was. Yeah, that was special. It was really cool, and I think that was really cool of them as well.
Yeah, definitely.
And there was maybe always that thing of like, once bands kind of outgrow Warped Tour, they don't tend to go back too much. But a band the size of Linkin Park, just taking that one off to go, we'll come up at Warped Tour and playing it, and like any other show, and bringing in this huge crowd, but keeping Warped Tour super involved and kind of at the center of their performance was special.
Yeah, a really iconic moment. That amazing. Right, okay. Next up, what is your funniest moment that you have ever had on Warped Tour?
Funniest moment? Oh my god! Seeing Matt West fall over with a corn dog, fall off a skateboard with a corn dog and a Dr Pepper in his hand was hilarious. And his reaction afterwards was hilarious. You'd think he'd been shot. He was shaking. He was like sick. That was maybe my favourite moment. Honestly, I would love to. I'm sure there has been funnier. I'm absolutely sure there's been funnier. But so many of them just happen in passing conversation. Just passing days that you can't remember, times that you can't remember. I'm sure the Warped Tour barbecue has probably held many good memory.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But the one that immediately springs to mind for some reason is just I'll never forget. And I think it's because it's from our first Warped Tour, and we were all so stoked to be there. And Wes thought he was cool, bezzing around on this skateboard, and then immediately just falling off with a corn dog in his hand. That's a good one.
That's quite the image. That is quite the image right there. Yeah. Amazing. All right, last question, and again, it's a tricky one. But if you had to pick, what do you think was your favorite city or favorite venue, I should say, to play in when you did Warped Tour?
Oh. There are a few really good cities that I would all kind of put neck and neck with each other. There are the big days on Warped Tour that everyone looks forward to. The California days, Chicago, New York, Boston, some of the Florida days. Well, the Florida days actually no one looks forward to because it's the most insanely horrible weather you can ever imagine. But there are a number of big days that everyone looks forward to. But I think personally one of my favorites is Jones Beach in New York, because it's right on the water, and it's literally a stone's throw away from the beach, and you have a combination of a great crowd too. New York is one of the Jones Beach Day is one of the big days, so it's one that you're looking forward to on the whole tour, and you also get the beach too, and because like JJR, who was tour managing, he worked on Warped Tour for years, and then the year that I got to know him pretty well was the year he was tour managing 4 Year Strong, and he would host games of Werewolf every night. And Werewolf is basically this role-playing game. Everyone sits in a circle, everyone's given a role, but nobody knows who they are. And so there's villagers and werewolves. Everybody has a little ability. But basically the aim of the game is for either the werewolves to kill everyone in the village or for the village to find out who the werewolves are and kill them. And it was great. And it was this game
I remember
this amazing game that everyone became like this thing on Warped. But the Jones Beach day of that on the 2015 Warped Tour was huge. It was like 150 people in the game or something. It literally went on for like 2 or 3 hours. It was insane. That was Jones Beach, probably my favorite.
I wish someone somewhere had recorded this giant game of Werewolf. Like, I would pay very, very good money to watch that back.
It became this legendary thing. Like last time I walked to JJ, I wasn't there, unfortunately, but there were other people who could moderate the games, and every night people would be talking about that.
So that epic game. Do you remember who was the werewolf? That's the big question.
I can't remember who won. I'm sure if I text JJR, he would tell me straight away. I think I went out sort of in the middle of the game, sort of early middle. So I probably would have not lost interest, but probably would have been just kind of hanging out for a bit. I'm trying to think who won. I think it might have been a werewolf win. I'm not sure who the wolf was, but I think it might have been a wolf win. But I'll have to be in touch with JJR about that. If anyone else mentions a werewolf in the interviews we're doing, I'm sure there'll be someone who was at that game and might be able to tell you.
Man, I'm going to have to add that to my list of questions. Every single person. Yeah. Were you at the werewolf game? Were you at the werewolf game?
were you at the Jones Boots legendary werewolf game?
We're gonna narrow it down. I'm gonna report back to you, mate. Who was the werewolf?
Play your own little game of werewolves. You better refine the wolves now. Yeah,
it's the ultimate Warp tribute we didn't know we needed, but we really did right there.
Yeah.
Ben, it's been really great chatting to you, man. Congratulations on many great years at Warp Tour, and we'll chat to you again very soon, I'm sure. Cheers, mate.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you very much.
Ben Barlow there, always lovely to chat to him, and we have some big news. If you're a Neck Deep fan, or indeed a Don Broco fan, they're going out on tour together early next year. Yes, this is Don Broco's biggest ever tour, and it kicks off next February in the UK with support from Neck Deep and from Issues as well, so go and check that out. Here's the key dates for your diary. February 2019, on the 1st and 2nd they will be at Victoria Warehouse in Manchester. On the 3rd they will be at the Pavilions in Plymouth. On the 5th, Motorpoint Arena in Cardiff. February 7th, Usher Hall in Edinburgh. February 8th, Motorpoint Arena in Nottingham, and finishing up on February 9th at the SSE Arena at Wembley here in London. Go and check that out, myticket.co.uk, to go and see Don Broco with Neck Deep and Issues live in the UK next year. Right, still to come, we'll be chatting to Chris Motionless from Motionless In White, but before that, it's time to catch up with Mr. Mike Shinoda. Now, Mike only played Warped Tour once, but it was one of the most memorable experiences in the history of Warped Tour. Linkin Park showed up completely unannounced, played a full set, even though they were absolute superstars at the time, and were joined on stage by the likes of Jeremy McKinnon. Loads and loads of greats from the scene who were on the tour at the time all got up and performed songs with them throughout the set. It was an amazing experience. Loads of videos available online of that performance. I suggest you go and check them out, but let's chat to the man himself now about what that experience was like. Here, in his own words, Mr. Mike Shinoda. I want to talk as well. This is something we've been asking everybody about recently, because it's the final ever Warped Tour coming up, happening now in the US this summer. And you guys in Linkin Park played one of the most memorable moments, really, in Warped Tour history back in 2014. You did this surprise set.
Super fun. Oh, man, that was so cool.
Yeah. How did that come about, first of all?
Well,
how did Kevin approach it?
The thing was that by the time Warped Tour started, the year that it started, we were playing shows about that size on our own. So there was no reason to play Warped Tour for us, and it kind of like when we looked back at that, I think it was around the Hunting Party, right?
Yeah,
was that
I
the
think
time?
so.
We put out this record, very like a heavy record, very rock record, and the idea of playing Warped Tour, like just a surprise thing at one of the dates, sounded so fun. And my only reservation about doing it was, if we do it, like what we really want to do is have some like Warped Tour favorite singers come out and sing with us. How many do we think we can get? Like, are people going to be, are they going to be interested? Are they going to be available? After they play, or are they going to leave? If they haven't played yet, are they even going to be are they going to be there? So it worked out great.
Oh yeah,
we had an awesome time. Got to play with a lot of bands that were so. Everybody there, whether they were on stage with us or not, like everybody was just so effusive. They were so like excited that we came, and they had we heard. It was almost like we didn't even know. Honestly, we honestly didn't know the influence that we had on a lot of, because they're a generation younger. Sure. And they grew up on our music, which in music's time, that only has to be like 5-6 years.
Yeah.
Like things turn around like that fast. So they were just so sweet, and we heard so many nice stories that made us feel great.
No, it looked. I was watching footage back of it this morning. I got to say, it's just the joy on people. Like when Jeremy McKinnon comes out, obviously the crowd go insane. But like he just looks so delighted to be performing with you guys as well, and same with everyone.
He was very. And Ryan Key, and they were all. One funny thing that isn't in most of that footage is that one band that we met later, who I almost asked to play with us, but I found out they were playing at the same time. That's why they're not in any of this footage. Right. They were on stage on one of the other stages at the same time we were playing. Was Echo Smith.
Really?
Yeah, and I had said to somebody, like, it's kind of nice, like there's this other band that's cool. They're much more chill.
Yeah.
kind of alternative music, but the singer is really good, and she would sound great on one of our songs. And then I found out that it was their first time playing there, and they were very new and very young, and they played at the same time. I was like, yeah, she's probably going to be too nervous. Like, I don't know, like, they're not as experienced. Like, let's not make them nervous or crazy or whatever.
Right.
And I met them later, and they are the nicest, most professional, like, talented, wonderful band. And I've talked to Sydney about it since and said, like, you know, this whole thing went on. She's like, no, I didn't know that. I'm so mad now that you did. First of all, that you thought that I would be like not capable of coming up, because obviously I would be. And second, I would have been thrilled to come up and sing with you guys. Yeah.
Hey, there's still time. In the future, there you go. There's another collab.
Yeah, right.
Possibly see. There you go. Such a legendary performance from Linkin Park at Vans Warped Tour. It really, really was. Thank you again to Mike for sitting down and reminiscing with us about that. Right, time now for our final guest this week on this special edition of the Rock Sound Podcast. It's Chris Motionless from Motionless In White. They have played Vans Warped Tour upwards of 9 times, plus on the local stage as well. It's incredible. They're real veterans of the tour. We sat down with Chris to talk through all his favorite memories, some of the friends he's made, his favorite sets, fun experiences at the meet and greet table, and what kind of impact he thinks it's had on the band's career over the years. It's an emotional one. He's on his final tour right now out in the States on the final cross-country run of Warped Tour. Let's catch up with him now. This is Chris Motionless. Sweet, we are back on the Rock Sound Podcast. My next guest from Motionless In White played Vans Warped Tour countless times. Chris Motionless, how are you, sir?
I'm good. Countless times would definitely be a perfect word to describe it.
I mean, I've counted 9 for sure, but it seems like definitely performance-wise, man, you've got to be one of the longest-running ones right up there, surely.
Yeah, I think I want to say that we're in maybe the top 5 bands of most amount of years appeared on. I'm not sure as far as like the amount of shows added up together, but we are definitely way up there at this point. It's actually really cool to think about and look back and be in that top echelon of bands that played it as many times as we have.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Quite the achievement. It really, really is. I want to dive right back before you'd even played it. Let's start right there, because I want your earliest first memories of Warped Tour. Did you attend it much before you guys ever played it?
Yeah, when I was in high school, that was like, I had some friends that were in a couple grades above me, and all they did was talk about how awesome Warped Tour was, and like, we have to plan a trip in the summer to go this summer. And I just had heard such great things. I think I'd seen like a Warped Tour DVD before, and it just looks like such an amazing world to want to be in. And my first one was where me and a bunch of my friends packed 2 cars up, and we drove 2.5 hours to Camden, New Jersey. And I walked in. At that point, that was just it for me. I remember just walking in and seeing Poison the Well playing. That was the first band I saw, and then I think the Youth was right after them, and I just was absolutely mesmerized by everything that I was just surrounded in. It was amazing.
Awesome, man. Awesome. And you say, of course, you know, it's an inspiring environment, and you were clearly taken by it from that first time going. So was it kind of an aim of yours once you started the band? Was it kind of an aim, like, you know what, that's where we need to get to?
Yeah, I knew that at that point that, you know, I was in a couple bands, but nothing had really kind of formed to the point where I felt like any of the bands I was in that moment could have been on Warped Tour or anything. But I always thought, like, wow, it would just be like my dream come true to be on Warped Tour and to have a band that could tour and do this kind of, just be a part of this kind of world. So once I graduated and our band really started to form, that was like the first and main goal that we had. That was like the big one, like, okay, if we can plan Warped Tour, we can do this. So right early on, I definitely wanted to be a part of it. And as soon as the band got up and running, that was like number one goal. And it's very awesome to think back to then and just look at where it is now, you know?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. Let's go right in then to that first year you were actually playing. First of all, obvious question, nervous? Were you particularly nervous?
Yeah, actually, we we had won a contest to play the first year. Like all of our local fans and family and everybody voted for us to play on a stage called the Ernie Ball stage. And at that time, it was like the Battle of the Band stage. And they let four bands from each city that the tour went to win the contest to play, and we were one of them. So man, it was like we never thought we even had a chance at winning at all. But our fans just ended up voting hard enough, and we ended up showing up and just like total no idea what was happening, like the total local band pulling everything out of a van, and just it was a mess, but it was so awesome, and just one of those experiences where we were so nervous and just walking around in just amazement, just aimlessly and trying to figure out what was going on and getting ourselves together. We played first, so.
Oh, really? You were first up on the stage, yeah. Man, that is proper intimidating then. So what was the crowd like at that show?
I mean, there's actually, I just went back into my like old little mini VHS tape collection, and found the VHS of the show, and I had it converted digitally. So I've actually just watched it, and my memory was quite correct in that it's basically just all of our friends from high school, a few of our families, and then a couple just like wanderers, because I think the stage was set up close to where the entrance was, so you can just see everybody in line walking past and just completely disregarding us because we were terrible. And rightfully so. They were just like, what the hell is this? So, yeah, it was just a lot of our friends that came out to support our local fans from the local shows we were playing. And that was mostly it. And then you could, as I say, you could definitely see some people stopping for a song. And that might be one of the hardest I've ever gone at a show, because when I watched the tape, I didn't stop moving. And I was playing guitar and singing at the same time at that period of the band.
Yeah. Man, early days. And little did these people know they were watching some history right there, walking on past. It's like, hang on, these guys are going to be back a lot over the next few years.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. All right, well, let's jump ahead then to your first cross-country run. I guess the obvious question we've been asking a lot of people, one of the coolest things about being on Warped, it seems, is that you're suddenly touring with lots of bands that you wouldn't necessarily ever be on the road with at any other time, because it's quite a diverse lineup. So who do you remember kind of hanging out with or checking out sets by that you wouldn't ever have toured with otherwise?
Right. Actually, I have to say, of that question, this year is the one that I guess speaks to that question the most. We're on tour right now, or one of the bands on tour right now is called Twisted, and they're definitely from such a different world as the rest of this tour, but they have the ability to be a part of this world. You know, they're similar to us. They wear makeup, a lot of like more, I guess you would say, not shocking outfits, but just more of like an image to them, and they kind of fit into where we do, but not so much into the Warped Tour world. And just being out here every day and having met those guys, they're actually some of like the most amazingly nice people and very hardworking band. And I think this year, of any year that we've ever done, we've made closer friends with them than any other band that maybe I wouldn't have ever had the chance to do elsewhere. So it's really cool that in the last year something like that could really happen, and now I can have a stronger memory going out of Warped Tour, you know?
Man.
So definitely the guys in Twisted.
Man, that's really nice to hear. What a nice community there is there. I really, really like that. We should say as well, I mean, you guys got into this period of time where you were basically playing every year. You were doing I think you did 3 on, 1 off, 3 on again. Do you ever get into it? Yeah, intense, right? But I guess that's my question. Do you ever get into a comfort zone with it, or is it just always as intense and non-stop as we kind of expect it to be?
I definitely don't think that there's a comfort zone, because they do a really good job at taking bands out of their comfort zone with, the fact that you don't know what time you play until the very morning of. And then every day there are different things that are going on that are at different times. So, when you're on a normal tour and you have the same schedule every day, you kind of just fall into your normal habits and like you said, comfort zone. But for something like this, it definitely keeps you on your toes, because you might wake up and be playing, 2 hours from when you woke up, or you might not be playing to the very end of the night. And then on top of that, those types of crowds are very different. Like playing to a 12:30 in the afternoon crowd versus an 8 p.m. crowd is so much different in the way that you have to kind of, I guess, just coerce them to enjoy themselves, because at 8 o'clock everyone is dead, and you just have the people that are there to really, really see your band. So it's a much different animal than a 1 o'clock crowd or so. So it's definitely something that keeps you out of your comfort zone. You really have to work extra hard to get this show, even though it's 30 minutes. It's such a long day, and you're doing signings and everything else. It's very hard to fall into like a normal habit, comfort zone type of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I forget as well, of course, you've always got all these other things going on. There's the TEI sessions and all that kind of stuff, particularly with signings and meet and greets. Are there any particular moments from the Warped Tour one specifically that have stood in your mind, either from this year or another year?
The one story that we always tell, it just caught us off guard so bad. This was, I want to say, maybe like 2007, 2008. This young woman came up and she was like, "Hey, how are you?" And we were like, "Hey, what's up?" You're just meeting her at the merch table, and she was like, just kind of stood there. We're like, "Can we sign something for you?" And she's like, "Oh yeah, sure." And she just bends down and took off her prosthetic leg and threw it up on the table. It was just a funny moment. It's just like, did not see that coming at all. And she was just so excited to get her leg signed, and that was the first time we'd ever done anything like that. And it wasn't anything crazy, but just a funny, like, just kind of took us back type of situation. So that's a funny one. And now in the more recent years, it's tough because fans don't actually really care about getting anything signed. They care about getting the photo, which is absolutely impossible to do in signings at Warped Tour. So it's a constant battle to try to please